Greetings, Sharks fans. I'm back here again with yet another NHL season preview for the upcoming 2017-18 season. And I want to thank everyone for the most recent support and all the subscribers I've been gaining. It means a lot, guys. And I'm about to hit 100 views on YouTube, which is pretty cool. Now, first, I just want to start off by saying I have the Sharks finishing 5th in the division. But depending on how teams either rise or fall, I could see him going to 3rd, 4th. You just don't know. This division, in my opinion, is one of the hardest to call because from the Ducks, the Flames, Oilers, Kings, Sharks, those 5 teams, you can throw them however you want them, and you could be right. This is one of the weakest divisions in hockey, in my opinion. It's not as good as the Central and Metro, in my opinion. And I just want to say San Jose has their issues. They are extremely weak on the left and weak on the right side of their wings. But they have a lot of depth down the middle, which is really good nowadays in this league. Losing Marlowe's goals hurts, but like I said, the division isn't as strong as Central or the Metro. You have one of the best blue lines in the hockey right now, with Burns, Vlasic, Martin, Braun, DeMello, Dillon. That's a solid and scary top 6. And that top 6 can help your goalie out a lot. Bacher has a horrible season and it will be avenged this year. I want to start off by saying that. And I'll get to him later in the roster preview. You have one of my favorite goalie tandems in all of the NHL with Martin Jones and Aaron Dell. Martin Jones is the second best goalie in this division behind John Gibson. And he had the second best save percentage last year behind John Gibson, which is good out of your number 1 goalie. And he's a stud in the playoffs for you guys as well. I see San Jose making the playoffs or battling for a wild card. They can either get a division spot or a wild card. And if you have an injury up front also, I want to say you can put Brent Burns on forward if you really need to, because on Cat Friendly he's listed as right wing, and he used to play forward. San Jose is one of those teams that historically, you guys scrape your way into the playoffs, and then you guys go on extremely far runs. You guys remind me of Ottawa last season. They barely got in, almost made the Stanley Cup Finals. They lost by 1 goal to Pittsburgh. Also, you have the most recent Norris Trophy winner on your team in Brent Burns. As I said, I really love what he brings to the table. One of the Sharks' main concerns from the NHL community is that they don't have the depth. They didn't have the depth last year, and they still put up a heck of a fight against Edmonton, which is one of the best teams. I have ranked 1st in the division. So, if you guys played a team like LA or like the Flames, you guys could have got to the 2nd or possibly even 3rd round. The Sharks, in my opinion, have 2 of the top 10 defensemen in the league with Brent Burns and Mark-Edward Vlasic. I expect the Sharks and Kings are going to have a dogfight in the standings for the divisional and first wildcard spots. They can easily finish 4th or 5th, like I said, in the division. Now, let's take a dive into your roster. You see what I did there? Sharks, dive. I try to make a joke. Mikhail Bacher is trying to bounce back from a horrible season by only getting 10 goals, 16 assists. And he is a better player than that. And I think he'll avenge that by, I can see him getting 15, 20 goals. Joe Pavelski is the captain of the team and the heart and soul of the Sharks. And is a great shooter and leader on and off the ice. And I could see him score in the range of 25, 30 goals. He's a good player. Joe Thornton, he came out for 1 year. And I strongly believe he has one more good run left in him. And this is a story, like the Clark MacArthur story in Ottawa, that can push you guys above and beyond because they want to do good for Joe Thornton and get him that cup. Melko Carlson is a good playmaker on the wing and is capable of 15 goals, 25 assists. I really like him on your second line. Sorry, this video is going to go up late because I was at the doctor's today. Logan Couture is a warrior for the Sharks. He and Thornton were playing hurt in the playoffs, and for the Sharks, he is a good shooter, and skater, and he can score 25, 30 goals, 30, 35 assists. I strongly believe he can get somewhere in that range. And I love him as your second line center behind Pavelski. Like I guys said, I love your guys' depth at center. It's really solid, and all four lines have a great center on them. Joe Ward is yet another gritty player and grinder in the top six, and is still capable of putting up good numbers, and he can score somewhere in the range of 10 goals, 20 assists. That'd be a very good season from a guy who's 36, and most likely I think will retire at the end of the season. Timo Meier, this will be the season that will define Meier if whether or not he can make as a top six forward. He's a big body who has good hands and playmaking abilities. It's just a matter of whether or not he can make it all at the NHL level as a top forward. I can see him scoring range from 15, 20 goals, 20 assists. Will be a good rookie season, but he's a wild card. Like I said, you don't know where you're going to get him. You can get really good numbers, really bad, or in between. I don't know where to put him on the map. Thomas Hertl is another skill forward playing in your top line, and he could score 15, 20 goals somewhere in that range. I strongly believe that. Jonas Donskoy is a fast forward with a decent shot and is extremely good on the PK and second power play unit, and he can score somewhere in the range from 15, 20 goals, and he can score some timely goals in playoffs. I remember 2 years ago when you guys were in the Stanley Cup Finals against Murray, you guys were about to go, I'm pretty sure 3-0 down, and he scored the game-winning goal in overtime to make it 2-1 and force the series to be more competitive. Then you have another fourth line that's really gritty. Marcus Sorensen. He scored 17 goals in the AHL, and he can score 5 to 10 in the NHL, I believe. Like I previously stated, I love how deep the Sharks are at center, and Chris Tierney is excellent on the PK and can score 5 goals, 10 assists for you guys, somewhere in that range. The last forward that you guys have is Jannik Hansen. The Sharks acquired him at the deadline last season from the Canucks, and he's a really gritty forward, another one in your bottom six, and is capable of 10 goals, maybe 20, depending if he gets power play time or penalty kill. He's going to get penalty kill time. He's really good on the penalty kill, too. Like I previously stated, the Sharks have one of the top 5 blue lines in the NHL. It starts with a guy who's another year older and another year slower, and Paul Martin, but he still could be a hell of a defensive defenseman and can occasionally still score at 36, and can score 5 goals, 20 assists, somewhere in that range. That'd be a great season. Much like Ward, I might see him retire at the end of this season, just depending on how he feels. Then you have the second best defenseman in the league, in my opinion, behind Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns, who, like I said, can play forward. If the Sharks address 7 defensemen, and if a forward gets hurt, he can always fill in up there at a wing. And he's a rock back there at the blue line, and can score at a point-a-game basis at points, and he'll probably score around 25 goals, 40 assists. That could be another Norris Trophy season for Burns, depending on people like Hedman and Karlsson do this season. Then, like I said, the Sharks have a top 5 defensive defenseman in Vlasic, and he's an excellent penalty killer and great on 5-on-5 and can score around 5 goals, 15 assists. That would be a hell of a season for him too. Like I said, he's a rock back there on the PK, and he's a calming presence back there. And he's paired with Justin Braun, who is another solid two-way defender and can score 5 goals, 10 assists. That'd be an excellent season for him too. Then the Sharks have a really solid bottom 2 again. It starts with Brendan Dillon, who I have as your 5th defenseman, and he can play PK and can score around 5 goals. I like what he does in the playoffs for you guys. He's a solid defensive defenseman. He's physical, not afraid to hit. He can drop the gloves if you need to, and he can win those fights and give your team energy, get the crowd into it. He can turn the tide sometime. Then the Sharks' 6th defenseman is Dylan DeMello, and he's in a contract year, and I think he probably wants somewhere around the 1.52 million range for 3-4 years, give him some stability financially, and he can score around 5 goals. Now, in my opinion, the Sharks have the second best goalie in the division, like I said, in Martin Jones. And he always does well in the regular season and playoffs for the Sharks. Last season, he had .912 save percentage and 2.40 goals against, and he's 6'4", 190. He's a big goalie, and he takes up a lot of net coverage, and there's not a lot of room to shoot on him. And players have to snipe on him pretty much. And he's very agile. Like I said, love what he brings to your team. He's a solid number one goalie, and I think he can carry the team to the playoffs if he needed to. Much like Carey Price can for Montreal. I can see that happening too. Then, like I said before, the Sharks have a great goalie tandem, and from the games I watched last season, Aaron Dell is a hell of a backup for you guys. And last year he had a .931 save percentage and 2.0 goals against. I saw him play the Flyers, and the Flyers can score on him. He shut in both the games against the Flyers. He let in 0 goals and 1 goal. He's just a solid player all around. And I just want to say that I think you guys, if you make it to the playoffs, you guys will go far. And this is your last shot, in my opinion, at winning the cup with this core, because a lot of players think you're going to retire next year. So, thank you guys for watching. It means a lot. Make sure you hit like and subscribe when you're coming through, and leave a comment and just tell me what I'm doing right, and I'll hit you guys with a Canucks preview tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and I'm out. Peace, guys.